the one I'd sent back to you.
Yesterday? Okay,
Yeah, so if we could make sure and get that in the chat so that for people who may not have it available.
perfect.
And the other thing that I'll need in the chat is small group review of mission, vision, and principles. It's that worksheet. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about. I guess I can find it and send it to you.
Let's
Yeah.
see, did you send that through email? Have you sent that through email?
No, well, in the past, yeah, I think I did.
You have, okay.
Yeah, yes.
So let me just, I'm gonna share that. Okay, let me look for that tomorrow.
Okay, it's called the PRC Small Group Discussion of Mission, Values, Principles, and Vision.
Let's see here.
I can
Okay,
actually,
yeah, small group discussion of mission. I found it. Perfect.
okay,
So let me go
right.
ahead and save that, and then I'll also share that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, if you drop that into the chat, so that's there.
I think they just finished the open meeting right now, so so some people may be late. I know one individual reached out saying he wasn't going to be here because he has other meetings with other agencies, and that's Jesse Montoya. So that's
Okay.
the only individual that I know that won't be here.
Okay,
Let's see here. Hey, computer, bam. All right. I'm gonna send them now. Perfect. Okay, so they should all be in the chat. Let me. And just to give you a heads up, Mark, the commissioners may have not gotten a chance to eat because they just finished
okay,
their regular meeting. So, and that may be true with some other individuals. I left early to eat and then set everything up, but just wanted to give you that heads up.
thank you.
Oh, man.
Did you have a chance to eat, Patrick?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Like right now, I'm putting it on YouTube. So.
Perfect. Okay, perfect.
Jordan, I'm going to step away. Quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Jordan, there's one other values document. This one is just the PRC values, and there is another one. See if I can find it.
If you could send it to me, or you could attach it to that chat.
That's what I'm going to do. I can do that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I just got word from Choya. The commissioners will be on at 1:15.
Oh, okay.
So let me go ahead. Let me just go ahead and create a note here so I could display that on the on the YouTube recording.
Yep. Great. Jordan, are you still on the call?
I'm still here. Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm doing, just since we have some time, this first document was what Commissioner Ellison and Scott came up with. And I've incorporated that text into this document down here. So I think that's going to be an easier document for us to share. And
Okay.
so I was going to add it here.
To the chat.
Yeah, I was going to add it to the chat, but it's not letting me do it to everyone. I'm trying to. It has the name of the people. Would it be meeting group chat? Does that go to everyone?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me just. Can we take down these other two? Are you able to do that?
Well, let me go ahead and check. Which let's see if I can. Yes, which one did you want me to remove?
Hold on. Just I'll get it to you in just a second. Let me get this one up. Make sure it's in there.
Okay, I
It
do
just
see that.
came in. Okay, so the one just above it with Collins initials on it.
Okay, let me see if I could delete that. Okay, that should have deleted Colin's
It
message.
did. And then
Okay.
the first one up at the top that you added, which was the language from Commissioner Ellison and Scott. We
Okay.
keep it. It's
The
'cause it's
values
PRC
draft.
Values draft. Yeah. Take that down.
Okay, that's deleted.
And you can take down this one here also with my picture next to PRC mission vision values 9-6.
I could remove that. That's the
Yeah,
one you
yeah.
just
That's the
attacked.
one I just replaced. Yeah. So
Okay, so delete the one you just
Yeah.
added.
right.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. I'll have to. Yeah, this is the one I just added.
Right.
At 406, and the one that you're going to delete is this one. It says I sent it to Colin Gillespie, and it was at 3:59.
Oh, I can't see that one. So if you sent that one to a specific individual, the whole
I
group
see.
is not going to be able to see
I-
that. So
I
Oh, I see.
re-uploaded it there.
Oh, got it.
Jordan, to the whole group should be there.
Right, it was Colin, but I
Okay,
added
great.
Commissioner Ellison's contribution. So
Oh,
I
great.
wanted to take that one down and have the one that's more complete with, so it has all the mission, vision, and values in it.
Okay,
Cool.
excellent. Thank you.
So thank you for doing that. You were on the right track. You couldn't read my mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So how many people on our call are directly a part of the rate case activities that have been on people's calendar today?
I don't know. I'm sure it's plenty. I'm sure it's a lot of the employees here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me see it. Okay. So I know that 2 individuals will not be in the meeting.
Okay. Who are those?
It's going to be David Martinez and Jesse Montoya.
Okay.
Got
Did
it.
either-
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, no problem. Those are the ones I know.
Did either of them miss the last meeting as well?
They both did. That's
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Hmm. Okay. Hello, Ed.
Hi, Mark.
Howdy.
Let me see. Joanne.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, no.
Greetings to all. Welcome. So Troy, I heard from Jordan that David and Jesse will not be joining the call. Is there anyone else that you know of who is not going to be with us this afternoon?
Likely Anthony. They have a
Anthony.
ongoing hearing.
Correct.
Okay.
Anthony and Brad, I just got an email that neither of them will be available.
I see the chair joined us, so I think you can do what you know how to do well, which is officially convene this meeting, and then we'll get started.
Good afternoon. Calling together a special open meeting of the PRC to discuss our strategic planning process. So I'll turn it over to our facilitator, Mr. Bennett. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jordan, would you pull up and screen share the agenda for the meeting, please?
Give me one moment. All right. Almost there. Is that it? There we go. There we go.
And could augment that a bit.
Increase it. Okay.
Yeah. Great. So I'm glad to be up with you all today. There are three things that are substantive discussions that we want to have during the meeting. There are 4 items on the agenda in Roman numeral 4. Of the 3 things, A, B, and C, that require substantive discussion, we're going to spend the bulk of our time on item A, which is to look at the work that was done between meetings with your discussions in the previous meeting on what seemed to be issues for strategic work in this plan. And those items have now been shaped into a discussion draft that you're going to be working on in small groups to consider potential draft strategic goals and objectives underneath those goals. And it's still in a very preliminary state, so there's quite a bit of discussion and refinement that will need to happen. And your shaping of that document today will be an important step for us to move towards the ultimate plan architecture. And the second item on the agenda is very early work to think about what's meaningful in your work to measure. Because any strategic plan, along with its goals and objectives, to be accountable, is looking at things that can be tracked and assessed in terms of whether progress is being made that's meaningful, and particularly with your stakeholders around in the public, for you to be showing the use of your resources for progress in measurable ways is a strong indicator. Then the third thing will be the review of some draft work that was done on the mission, values, and vision. better look. It's not going to be approved today, but we're going to at least try and confirm that we're closer to a final draft. So if there's some additional things that you think could be worked on or modifications that would improve this draft, we're going to capture those in a small group discussion. And the final thing that will only take a few minutes at the end of the meeting is to discuss the part of the plan that lies ahead of where we are now, which is ultimately a plan with goals and objectives, needs an action plan for the first year. Excuse me a moment. Needs an action plan for the first year. And often the details of operational actions are best shaped outside of a planning team in the operational parts of the organization. So we're going to talk for a few minutes about what the pleasure is of the committee in terms of how some of this action planning will ultimately be done. Will it be done, for example, under the supervision of the chief of staff with the key people in the department or in the commission that she thinks are likely going to be related to the doing of the work so that they can have input into the actual action planning underneath goals and objectives, or will we do it within this planning team? So we'll talk more about that. All right. So, Jordan, how many people do we have in the meeting now? I don't have them in my gallery view. I can't see everybody. So I want to break this up.
We have 12.
We have 12. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think we'll follow the format we've done before to separate the 3 commissioners into individual groups and then randomly assign the other members of the planning team to partner with the individual commissioners. And your assignment for this first breakout is to take the draft list of strategic goals and issues. It's in your chat. If you look at the top of your chat, there's a Word document that was sent to you. It's titled PRC Strategic Issues Categories with Small Group. Yeah, issues categories.
I'm not seeing that document
Okay.
in the chat, you said?
Yeah, it should be up at the top. Jordan posted it at 3:53.
The only thing I see is from Scott at 119.
Okay.
Okay, so those were the new messages. So let me go ahead and see if I could. I think since give me one moment.
I think if you joined after the chat
That's
was
right.
posted, you can't see it.
Not there, yeah.
Let me see if I could. Okay, give me one moment here.
So while Jordan is looking to repost that, so everybody will have it available, Choya and Scott and Colin and Arthur were part of a team that took your feedback from the small group discussions and began to shape it into the document that you're going to see here. And Choya, I don't know if you and some of the others who are part of that want to say anything to your colleagues about what went into your process of producing the document that they're going to be looking at.
Scott, Colin, Arthur, you want to take a shot at it?
No, I mean, other than to say, I guess we just, trying to continue this process of trying to just kind of, winnow it down and put things together that make sense together and make it into something that's going to be usable for us going forward, I guess. And there was there's some really good stuff in there, and I didn't think it was tough. It was hard to do, but it's a labor of love.
Yeah,
So- Go ahead, Colin, please.
sorry, yeah, to add on to that, we just took some of the priorities that we had in the small categories and really made sure that we turn them into action items. So changing things into verbs, and then prioritizing and making sure that we didn't have like redundant goals in multiple sections if they didn't belong there. So that's what we did yesterday, actually, and yeah, now we're set to review it. Thanks.
So Jordan, do you have the ability to screen share that document? Just so we could scroll through it with everybody before they break into their small groups so they could see what we're talking about?
Yes, of course. Can you confirm what document is this? The small groups discussion of mission statements, mission values and principles?
No, this is the PRC strategic issues categories with
Okay,
small group ideas and the number 3 on the end.
let me go ahead and screen share that right now.
So go ahead and scroll down to the area where they began their work, which starts, it's a little small if you want to increase it.
And I see we left some of the work product in there. So the one mission, one agency, one purpose should be not attributed to any one group, but that's my error.
So yeah, people can read it in their small groups, but if you could just show them that basically all the work has been at this point categorized under 3 bold headings. And the first one has to do with the capacity of the organization. Create an agency with one unified mission with a culture of excellence that continually assesses and builds capacity. And then the items that seem to relate to this internal facing focus on the capacity for you to deliver the mission. So if you'd scroll down, there's a parking lot underneath each of these where they kept some language from related items that they thought didn't really make the cut as a potential strategic goal or a supporting objective. Some of it has been incorporated in other language above, but it's there to see what's, what was sort of pushed away from the strategic conversation, but it's still there for you to consider if you wish. The second potential goal area is really looking at the processes and operations of the PRC, how to optimize them, how to enhance them in various ways that have implications for your work and your ability to deliver the mission. And then if you go down to the third area, the third area was really about what you produce outward facing, looking at the capacity of the PRC for leadership and regulation through the way it implements legislation and policies and the way that you work with industry and the public to be a true resource for the state. And so that has everything to do with your outreach and your communication outwards and how you engage. And certainly it has everything to do with the way that you handle your output from the commission in terms of your decisional work. And that's what came out of the collaboration of these 4 parts of your group, trying to think of the breadth of what you talked about. There was a way to organize it where it resonated with one of these three overarching themes: internal staff capacity, operational effectiveness and optimization, and this theme of your regulatory mission and how you're leading and carrying it out and how you're engaging with the people that it affects. So all of this is an invitation for your thinking and your addition or your modification of what the small group came up with. The way I'd like to propose that you do this is, since we need to capture your work, is I would suggest that if one of you can open this document and actually append your ideas, your questions, and your notes within the areas of the document, And they might be for a particular bullet underneath number 3, or they might be number 3 itself in terms of wording. You don't like the wording or think that it's the most appropriate way to address that. Or you may come up with some alternate higher level categories that you think are going to be more effective or are going to augment these categories. So we're still at a very rough stage of the crafting of strategic goals and objectives. So please bring your best thinking and your constructive criticism to this working draft, which is only really meant to provide a platform for us to continue to develop this work. So that's the goal of this breakout, that I would suggest that you spend an hour in your small group really grabbing a hold of this and again, challenging it in any way you want to, or affirming it and building on it in any way you want to. And we'll have some time in the large group to come back and both hear what you have to say about this document draft, and also some time for some large group give and take, so everybody can hear what's on people's minds about this particular version. So it will be important to have a note taker, as I said, and to grab the document and insert your comments, ideas, and modifications in the document in a way that we could use to build a revised draft and move forward from here. Any questions about what I'm asking you to do in your small groups? All right.
I just had a
Yes,
question
sir.
about that.
Commissioner.
So this document with the strategic issue categories with small group ideas, is the focus for us to look at the possible strategic goals, or is it also to think about the different issues that are listed above?
Well, the introduction to the document was the issues that came out of the feedback that you got from different sources, and that was color coded. And this was an attempt to respond to those issues above. So I would suggest you look at the language of those potential 3 strategic goal areas or themes, and the potential objectives of work underneath them. That would be, Commissioner, my recommendation to you. But any comments or thinking that you want to bring to this is certainly welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so make sure you have a note taker, and then follow the discussion where it leads you. And we'll come back together in an hour. Mr. Chair, if you would declare us in recess till an hour from now.
Great. So we're going to recess to break out into small groups, and we'll come back at 2:30 Mountain Time.
Jordan, you're going to break the groups out?
Yes, sir. They're going to the groups right now. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Perfect. All right. They're all in their groups.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Of course. Let me just make sure you're co-host. Yep, you are. So if you want to go into the groups, you can.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you got that. Yeah, you got that back up there.
I'm right here, Mark, if you need anything at all.
That's my security blanket. I like it. That's what I like to hear. Thanks for your help.
Of course.
What happened to Scott?
I think he had a meeting.
Oh, I think
But
that's
a very,
right.
yeah, a short meeting. He'll be back. So as soon as he gets back, I'll make sure to include
Right.
him to a group.
Well, this is really interesting because it just worked out. Maybe you made it work out that one member of the drafting team is in each of the three groups. So not only do you have a commissioner in each group, which I know you had covered, but Colin is in group number 2, Choi is in group number 1, and Arthur's in group number 3. So that means if people have questions about what they see in that document, there's somebody from the group who has the ability to
That's right.
respond.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes I do it random. I make sure every week is a little bit different.
Mhm.
And sometimes it works out like this.
That's good. Well, it worked out. That's great.
That's right. That's right.
Jordan, you there?
I'm here.
Great. Any peeps from any of the groups?
Scott, I placed him in room 2, so with
Great.
Commissioner Aguilera, but
Sounds
that's
good.
the only update.
Okay, all right. So, will you send them, like a 5-minute warning?
At 2:25.
Yep,
Perfect. You got it.
great. So we've got another 12 minutes or so.
Yes, sir.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Of course.
Did they get their 5 minutes?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
All righty, I'm gonna go ahead and bring them back.
Okay.
All right,
right.
everyone's back.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to suggest, if this sounds okay to you, that we take a 10-minute break. And then get everybody's energy back up after your hour of discussion, and we can hear reports from the three groups. Does that sound like a good idea? So Commissioner, I guess you need to recess this for another 10 minutes then?
Yeah, so we're recessed for another 10, except Scott, who wasn't here for the first 10. So that's a joke. See you in 10.
And Miranda.
And Miranda.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Mr. Chair.
All right, welcome back. We are back in session.
Okay. I know we're heading towards the latter part of a long day for many of you, and so I appreciate your continued engagement, and we want to hear from each group. I guess, first of all, to get a sense of the discussion, and then if you can share your screen and give us an idea of the kinds of things that you thought would advance this rough draft of some strategic areas to focus on. We can get a sense of that. Ultimately, what we're looking for here is everybody understanding the nature of the discussions, and then we're laying the groundwork for probably the same group, although it doesn't have to be, to take away this approximation of your thinking and come up with a revised, refined draft. So that would be what we would be putting on the agenda for the next meeting and getting that out to you in advance so you can look at it ahead of time. So with that in mind, let's hear, from each group, 5-10 minutes. It doesn't have to take that long, but you have enough time to really explain your thinking and what you came up with. Who will lead off?
I can start. Well, go ahead. You want me to share the document or just kind of walk through it?
I think if you could share it and walk through it, that would be useful to us.
Okay. Do I need to zoom that at all?
It's a decent size for me.
So I thought let's start at the bottom because I think our bigger changes were at the end. One was talked a bit about how if you go through the information at the top, the blue and orange info, repairing our public image and reputation is something that is important. Didn't necessarily have something that touched on that directly. We decided that was okay because felt like the sum of everything that is there, if we do the right things for the right reasons, that's the best way we know in order to address that thing. So bringing that up because there's a couple other things where we felt an obligation to respond to the feedback that we received through this process. That's one area where maybe it doesn't show through directly. Next big change was we created a fourth one by promoting, there was a pile of sub-bullets under a objective and then pulled that out. And so frankly, this was one of the sub-bullets. We made it the new category and with the goal of just demystifying what we do. So there were quite a few objectives or goals that were already there that felt like they were a good match for this idea of demystifying. And again, this is another example of something we think if we do this well and do it for the right reason, it will help us with the repairing our image. And then just lots of things about which one of these goals or objectives were written in a way that we felt like we were directly able to influence the outcome. How do you measure whether it was done well or not? So got a few notes in this draft and happy to pass those on and can explain myself better if whoever needs to work with it next has any questions, but that's where the rest of it was just kind of asking, is this the right word choice? Is this a measurable goal?
And what is the significance of the color coding under the first area, which is the focus on staff capacity?
Well, yeah, so this green stuff, that's what I was talking about with this italics. So we don't have the ability to create our own budget. So that was kind of the thought. But so is that a SMART goal? And then within that training, want to make sure we recognize and lever the ability to do training internally, so we don't need money for it. So a lot of that is mentoring, or especially now that we're getting to where we're filled our vacancies, we're gonna have capacity to do things like shadowing on cases. So not everybody has to be doing all the work on a case. Maybe somebody is there to learn from somebody else that's on a case. And then, sorry, but that's the color coding.
Okay,
Yellow
thank you.
for teal,
Thank you,
green
Commissioner.
for yellow for-
So you found a movement that made sense to you was to add a fourth goal category of major activity related to this theme of how people, the public understands what you do and how things work. Sounds like by implication, you found the other high level bolded language to be workable. One thing on staff capacity, and I've forgotten the other two. Another one on your leadership around your regulatory and mission. And could you scroll down a little bit? No, I'm sorry, scroll up. I apologize, I misspoke. Yeah. You're the leadership number 3, and then number 2 was the goal number 2 is the focus on your process excellence and improving your optimization of the way your operations work.
Yes, that's right.
Great. Okay.
It looks like we didn't do anything to 3, but we kind of, that's where we chopped it in half and promoted.
Right.
number 4, so.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. So when we hear from everybody, then I'll be interested in some overall observations or any comments or questions. So why don't we hear from the other 2 groups?
I can go for Commissioner Aguilera's group.
Great.
Share my screen here. You all see that?
Yes.
Okay. So going with number 1, just going down the bullets for, provide more opportunities for training. We just, in the comments, we just put ensure new hires receive appropriate onboarding, make sure new hires have tools to develop into experts in their field. And also he added per agency budget, offer more professional development opportunities. Going down here, increased number of staff. We just made an amendment here to make sure we attract the appropriately experienced staff and increased agencies' credibility to help attract new staff. Further down under this bullet of improve communications within the agency, we have just increase and improve, changed it to increase and improve communications. And or the appropriate channels of communication, maybe change the language to provide more ways to communicate with the agency leadership, such as face-to-face interactions. There's coffee, lunch opportunities, etc. Anything involving food to get people in attendance, and also using internal comms tools like Slack or Teams. Further down, change the language again, instead of provide a physically and psychologically safer environment, perhaps change the language to provide a safe, secure, and respectful work environment. And create a safe space to broach ideas, recognize issues, etc. Perhaps make that a sub bullet under that existing bullet there. And with focusing on using time wisely, we felt that maybe these bullets should be moved under the number 2 under the optimize internal operations. Going down to this bullet here, And also this one as well, moving the improved internal communications to the optimizing internal operations and processes. All right, on to number 2. Again, add language specifying the utilization of the comms tools like Slack or Teams. Under streamlined processing of cases, we noted that perhaps provide more autonomy for staff to take action, and recommended a new sub-bullet outlining the drafting process manual on this. Further down, we recommended this bullet, identify and prioritize issues appropriately, to move that under using time wisely bullet above. And also to change the parenthetical to being responsive and proactive rather than non-reactive. Under number 3, change the language, remove partner with the legislature, and change that to serve as a resource with the legislature in helping develop policy and legislation. And moving further down, we're change the language, implement new website. Since the new website was launched yesterday, we suggested just making full use of the new website. And under demystify the regulatory process, enroll the PRC under the bullet of increased number of workshops, public comment hearings, etc. I think this was a change in language, or adding engage with stakeholders across New Mexico by holding public comment hearings in other communities. And that is it.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And the remaining group.
Well, okay, I can share my screen. Arthur, would you like to talk to this, or would you prefer that I do that?
I can certainly talk through it. So let's go to the top of it, where we kind of viewed this as continuing in the previous set of veins of distilling and moving furniture around. So that's what you see in terms of a whole bunch of kind of markups for that. We didn't have any objections to any of the major categories, 1, 2, or 3, though I appreciate the possible pulling out of a 4th that we heard about from Commissioner O'Connell. Really furniture moving, right? The one thing I'll point out is, and based on Miranda's observation, is that we had increased budget, right? And that's not something we really have control over. So what we tried to do was to change it to structure our budget requests to do those 2 things, which is to emphasize training and to increase the number of staff, right? Knowing that we can ask, but we don't always get. And that's really just changing the way that sections were written. We had some conversation of trying to get around this issue of improving flexibility to improve the workplace. And one of the things that we really talked about was better use of time, and came up with not just aligning staff resources, but also developing tools to help track how time is being spent, right? And the effectiveness of that. And we'll get into some more communications issues around that, but that's really kind of part of, it falls under staff resources, but it also impacts process. So there's a little bit of overlap with the next section. Okay. We did away with, or not really did away with them, but moved them around. So that's, if they're scratched out here, it's just because they found a different home. And I think the key here is that we had 2 things: increased communications from top down and then from down up. And what we just did was conflate them into frequency and channels of communications between staff and leadership, right? Because all of that could use improvement. Okay, we did review the parking lot just to make sure that we weren't missing anything, but realized that to a large degree, these things that are in the parking lot were taken into account in some way, either by the wording of previous sections or that. We didn't really find anything that was obviously being left out that shouldn't be. Okay. So in terms of internalized operations and process, not a whole lot of change there. We didn't find that the workflow processes that respect employees' time and ability really kind of resonated with us. And so like, I'd leave it to other people in the bigger group to figure out what that means, because I'm not quite sure what it means. But here's the important part. Adapting processes to encourage self-evaluation, continuous improvement really means improving our ways of getting feedback, to learn from mistakes or near misses, and to build in from the beginning of processes a communication stance that can help you do that all along, right? So it's not just wait until after everything's done, but let's get to a place where we start building by design better processes. And this last one, we had talked about this previously, refined processes to eliminate reversals due to procedural error. Yeah, that's a goal, but really it may be a metric, right? It may be something that we use to evaluate how effective these other things are. Down to the third. Can we go down? Yeah. Not a whole lot of changes on this, and often it's, you know, the last part of the task gets the least amount of attention, and we recognize that. So the suggestion for pulling out demystifying into its own section is a good one. The only real change here is these sections in blue may not really belong in this document. These may be actions for an action plan that kind of like build out these things. And so we didn't change them so much as just like highlight that the fact that they may not really, this may not be the right document for those things, but they should be things that we consider as we develop an action plan. That's it. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Commissioner, that I may not have touched on?
Let's see. Am I can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I think that really covers it. We talked about beyond social media and websites to think about designing and implementing a media strategy to highlight PRC accomplishments. So, including press releases and perhaps other ways of reaching the press and media other than social media and websites.
All right. So with having heard what people did and how you use this particular framework, and it sounds like accepted it reasonably well and looked at how to refine it, and as you say, move the furniture around. Do you have any overall observations or questions that you want to pose to your colleagues based on what you're hearing about this movement towards an architecture of some major goal areas or themes, and then some key activities underneath those themes?
Well, I really like the one about safe work environment. I know we had a conversation about it. I saw one of the other groups touched on it. My only problem is, how do we measure that? And maybe I'm just getting hung up on that, but would love to hear anybody who thinks it's something that we can clearly do and know we've succeeded.
The group earlier this week actually kind of fleshed that concept out so that it made more sense, right? And to me, it was really vague, and now it's less vague, but gets at, both psychological and physical safety as issues. And I don't know, Miranda, were there people trying to get into the building today? That's definitely something that we can work on.
Yeah, we do have, it looks like someone's trying to pry open the metal bars and they're getting close in the basement.
Really?
They've taken off the bolts, it's bent. They can remove one more bolt and then get access to that basement.
Sure, it's not somebody trying to escape.
Could be.
So I just want to respond, Commissioner, to what you're asking about. I mean, physical safety often has some more obviously measurable ways that you can do. You can certainly look at workplace injuries, and you can infer perhaps from illness rates and things like that, issues with stress as a part of a less safe workplace. It's not a direct correlation. But with psychological safety, what most organizations want to do is they want to survey their workforce with some key questions that are scaled in response from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 about the employees, staff's perception of whether I can speak up with concerns. If I have a problem with another employee, I know where I can go and get help to work that out or get assistance. So you probably can take about a handful of questions that are the indicators of a psychologically safe space for people. And then they look at changes over time in terms of whether the answers to those are indicating more safety or more capacity amongst the staff to feel capable and respected and make their contributions. So that's a common way to do it, because that sense of safety lies within the subjective experience of people. And the only way you can really get at that I know is by asking them how they feel. But you don't just say, how do you feel? Do you feel safe or not? You break it into some behaviorally specific areas that would indicate somebody feeling safe and willing to speak up and raise issues, challenge people, challenge the status quo, and say something's wrong and needs to be corrected, those kinds of things.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
You were reminding me of that Billy Crystal thing on Saturday Night Live. It's not how you feel, it's how you look.
All right. So the first, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, we were, I guess we sort of accepted as a given the 3 strategic goals and, sort of worked on some wordsmithing. It does seem like the first one and the second one have a lot of overlaps, and that the optimizing internal operations and processes could be a subset of the culture of excellence and continually assessing and building capability. I just, number 1 and number 3 seem like, pretty strong goals to me. And I know a lot of us have issues with some of the internal tools. I just wonder, is there, would it make sense to sort of think about, are these the 3 big items that, we think best capture what we need to do?
That is the question.
Okay.
It's an important question. I've seen so many different plans. I think I shared with you the taxation and revenue plan, and they said we have 3 big things. We've got to improve the customer experience. We've got to be excellent in the way that we work together, which would include the people component, and then they say that we need to work with all of our operational issues, which they parsed out operational stuff from team communication and team collaboration, even though I think you're right, they certainly have interactivity. One of your sister agencies in another state, one of their goals was to transform their work culture. That was one of their handful of, I think they had 3 or 4 big goals. Getting those 3 or 4 big categories right, Commissioner, I think is a really important step. And so I think it's good to challenge that and test it, and you may not be there yet.
I just wanted to add to that because I agree, especially with the first one, which, you know, after we moved some of the like communication pieces to I think it was the next goal. I think what we're left with really is, and for me, it's really attracting and retaining highly qualified staff. You know, I think this means a lot of different things about the environment that we have. And, you know, the chairman mentioned about rebuilding credibility and a reputation. I think that is really important. We discussed that as well. And I think, again, if we're attracting and retaining highly qualified staff, I think part of it is because we're well respected. We have an environment that people want to work in. We feel comfortable saying if something is not correct or needs to be improved. So for me, that first bullet was really about attracting people and them wanting to work here, especially because we work for the government. I think, you know, we don't have the highest salaries, and so we really need to think outside the paychecks to be able to attract people.
So, Commissioner, to follow up on that, in this round of redrafting, one of the things you could do is look at that bolded language and consider whether, if the essence of it is what you're talking about, that might argue for a change in that top level language to really focus on that, and then see that all these other things fell out from that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the next step in this process is, but to whoever is working on that, just something to consider.
Sure, and these comments in the meeting notes will go along with your documents as input for this small group to take away these things and refine this into a more nuanced and accurate representation of what you want. So your language about attracting and retaining definitely can be a vibrant part of that. We've got a few more days between now and our next meeting, so I guess I'd like to find out from Choya, Scott, Colin, and Arthur if you all are able and willing to continue to serve as a small group that takes this input and refines the document that we brought to the meeting today. Is that realistic for you all, given your responsibilities?
As long as no one's voting us off with that subcommittee, I think we're good, at least from my perspective.
Okay.
Great.
So four or five is a good sized group. So we've got 4. I don't know if there's anyone else who would really like to be a part of it. All right. So one of the things that we can commit to doing, and I'll help organize this with the people that have just been named, is we'll take your overall comments after the reports today, plus those report documents, and turn around a draft document that I think we should commit to try and get you at least 3 or 4 working days before the next meeting. So that I know you're often very busy, and so I hope that would give you enough time to come in with some thoughts that we could use to try and turn it into a final draft. And I think the next meeting is on the 27th. Is that right, Jordan?
I'm checking now, the next meeting. That's for the review. Let's see here. That's
27th.
correct, the 27th at 9 a.m.
Okay, great.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. All right, so after this meeting, I'll set up some interim drafting dates for us to get our heads around what you've given us today, and see how that can inform a better approximation of what could really stand as a goal structure with some key elements underneath each one. There's one other thing that we need to do in the meeting today, and it does involve another small group breakout. You're going to have the drafts of mission, values, and vision that we had 3 teams work on, and those were sent to you. Jordan, can you pull that up on the screen? We'll just scroll through it so people will see what's there. And then I'm going to ask the drafting teams who created the current draft to say a few words about what you did. And then we'll break out into small groups and have your groups see if there's any immediate feedback you have about what you really like, if it's good to go, or if you have some suggestions that you'd like considered in a revision.
I'm pulling that right now.
Okay, thank you.
I believe this is gonna be it. Let me know if it's not it.
Nope, that's an earlier version.
I don't think I have it. Let's
Uh,
see.
Okay, let's see if I've got
Give me
it
one
here.
moment.
Here it is. I can share it. Let me do that. All right, so Arthur and Patrick, you're up first. We're talking about what you did with the vision.
Well, the vision statement that previously existed was a lot more detailed. And it seemed that the sense from the group was that it should be much more brief and to the point. And Commissioner Aguilera's group essentially kind of boiled it down to what is the first sentence that you see here. The commission is nationally recognized for innovative, forward-looking policies that advance the state's goals for 100% zero carbon resources as required by law. We felt that was a really good foundation, but that there was an element in the longer version that we tried to boil down here to get at how we do this, right? And how we do this is to effectively employ stakeholder outreach and communications to ensure public awareness and active participation in both the developing of decisions and determining future policy initiatives. And that one sentence kind of boiled down 3 or 4 other bullet points. So the only question that we had here is the phrase "as required by law" necessary? Right. I think it's a recognition of the political reality, right? That often we're responding to what the legislature tells us because that's what's in the constitutional amendment that got passed 2 years ago. But also to broaden it so that, okay, they're going to tell us we have to do these things. How do we do it? And these are the more modern tools that we have, making sure that we don't make decisions in a vacuum, or as a small group and then impose them on everybody else. But we really try and open up the box of participation so that we make better decisions. So that's where we came out on this one.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then we have 3 options for a mission statement to Commissioner Aguilera and Jordan. You want to speak to how you
Yeah,
got to these?
Yeah, I can maybe start and Jordan could add if he would like. So we, the number 3 is closest to what was initially proposed. Of course, we broke out into groups the last time we all met and received feedback from the different groups, and some of it was somewhat conflicting. Wanted to simplify it or make it bolder, say more, say less. And so we thought it would be better to provide options and, we could look at them and be able to compare them more easily that way. The first one, if I recall correctly, reflects Chairman O'Connell's group's edits, and they had provided helpfully specific like wording changes, and so we tried to incorporate those into this first option. And then in brackets, the regulated utilities is just something we were wondering whether needed to be there, because we're talking about effective oversight. So it's effective oversight of what? The second option is more closely aligned with what Commissioner Ellison's group had proposed, which is more direct and straightforward, and change the word a little bit. I think they may have proposed this exact wording, and I think we may have added a little bit. We took some elements from Chairman O'Connell's groups, like the effective oversight, and added that to this. So that will be the simplest and more straightforward option. Maybe not as bold as some of the other feedback we received. And then the third option is, I guess, similar to what was initially proposed, and again took some of the feedback. And so this is, I guess, maybe like the compromise version of what we heard from all of the groups. And yeah, so definitely welcome your feedback on all of these. And then in terms of, I guess we'll see, after we go into our breakout groups to see what kind of feedback we get, but this might be something that we might want to share more widely, like with the other focus group, to see what they think about the options.
Great. And Commissioner, that is the plan, that whatever additional feedback you have, then it needs to go to this larger review group and see and get their feedback before you do anything finally. Okay, and then Commissioner Ellison and Scott Cameron worked on this set of values. So do you want to speak to those?
Sure. So the process was that Scott really looked at what all the small groups had said and incorporated that, and it resulted in getting rid of the I think it was one of the main values, the fairness, and folding it into integrity. And then we went back and forth a bit to pare it down some. So, we have public service as we safeguard the interests of the ratepayer. We are good stewards of the public resources entrusted to us and seek to allocate them wisely. integrity. We base each decision on the merits of the case. We are fair, honest, and transparent, and follow through on our commitments. Openness and inclusivity. We respect and support each other at the PRC and value the contributions of each person. We listen to the point of view of each party who comes before us. This is kind of interesting because it kind of reflects, we've got this internal and external audience, and the respect and support and value the contributions feels like it's more internally oriented, and then obviously listening to the view of the parties is more of an external orientation. And then excellence, we consistently put forth our personal and professional best, and we seek and freely offer advice and assistance to improve our work.
Okay. So we have, I think, sufficient time for you to provide a round of feedback on these. And Jordan, if you could send people back into their groups. I think we have a capture sheet, don't we, Jordan, that we put in the chat of the discussion feedback sheet. Let me stop the share here. Should be in the chat.
Yes, we do.
Small group discussion, it's called.
Yes, if you scroll up, it's the last attachment that I included in the chat.
Yeah, 420.
Can you put it in there again, please?
That's yes. Let me go ahead and take it right now. Small discussion, small group discussion. Bam. There we go.
So I think we need about 10 minutes to wind up. So we would have slightly less than half an hour to for you to have this discussion. I think it's 20 past the hour. We should be back at 10 minutes until 4.
Okay, so let's recess to join our small groups, and we'll return at 10 till 4.
We're probably not going to have a chance for you to read the feedback aloud, so just take your notes in the form, and then we'll roll those into the drafting teams to follow through on your suggestions or concerns.
All right, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms now.
Jordan?
Yes, sir.
I just sent you a WhatsApp message
Okay,
about scheduling a time with the people doing the follow-up work on the strategic goals document. That's Choya, Colin, Arthur, Scott, and myself. And I'm receiving incoming emails, but I'm not be able to, I can't send
You can't
outgoing
send out.
emails. So I'm
okay,
gonna rely on you to try and get a date and time for that.
okay,
And then you can certainly send an email to everybody confirming that I would get my copy of. And I hope I'll have my email fixed tomorrow. I haven't had time to reload, delete my email accounts and reload them and with my
Right.
code and everything, just to see if I can get them squared away.
Okay,
So
so perfect. Yep. I'll make sure. Let's see, how long do you need for this meeting?
I think it'd be good to have 90 minutes.
Okay,
But if we can just get an hour, well, I'll take an hour, depending on what people's schedules are like.
all
And,
right.
and the only date I can't do it is next Wednesday. We have the meeting with the PRC
Right.
review team on Wednesday morning, so
Okay, I think I'm gonna try to set it up for 2 p.m. This is, yeah, 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Yes, 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So let me go ahead and start setting that up for you.
Tuesday the 12th.
Tuesday the 12th, yes, at 2 p.m. our time, Mountain Time.
Right.
All right. Would you like me to call it again the goal wrapping group?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'll be able to do 1 hour. Is that okay?
That's fine. We'll get it
Okay.
started. Yeah.
All right.
And then we're probably going to need another meeting the following week.
The same group?
Yep.
Okay.
And see if you can make it for 90 minutes the following week, the week of the 18th through the 22nd.
You got it. Perfect. Let me go ahead. Let's see. And then let me add you on here as well, Mark. Bennett. Okay. Choya, Scott. Colin, Arthur. Okay. It's gonna be a Zoom meeting. Okay, that's all set for next week. So the
What-
following week, I could, it seems like Wednesday is wide open.
Wednesday is good.
Should we do, let's see, 10 a.m.?
Sure. 10 a.m. is fine.
So 10 a.m. until 11:30.
All right. Okay, great. So you should probably send them a warning for, I guess they've got 8 minutes left, 7 minutes.
Yeah, I'll send them a warning at 3:45, so just in 3 minutes.
Okay,
Okay, call that. Zoom meeting. Full wrapping group, okay. Second meeting, so this is gonna be September 20th from 10 AM to 11:30. Perfect. Sending that out now. All right.
okay, great, thanks. Okay.
5 minutes has been sent. 5-minute warning has been sent,
Great, thanks.
and I'll be right back.
Okay. Hmm. So are they coming back?
All right, so I'm gonna stop it right now. I should be back shortly. There we are.
Right. All right. Welcome back, everyone. So what I'll want to do is make sure that we get all the notes from the note takers to the right place. And Colin, are you're still on the call? Can you be the recipient of those notes to roll them in with your other meeting notes?
Please, that works well for me.
Okay, so if everybody would send your any of your note documents to Colin. There's a couple of other things that I want to talk to you about. One of them is that I want to leap ahead to when we have the mission, vision, and values, and we have the architecture of goals and major objectives. Part of the traction that organizations get with that strategic framework is they usually work on a first-year action plan. And not all the objectives and goals are necessarily going to move forward in the year one of the 3-year plan. And usually the reality of the organization's operations and their management and staff is going to dictate how much you can take on with initiatives in these different areas of goals and objectives. I guess I'd like to get the thinking of the commissioners in particular, along with Choya and Scott, about where do you imagine the more detailed, actionable things should be planned? Do you think that would be under the heading of Choi as chief of staff duties, or would you as the commissioners want to be directly involved in that? You're going to be finally approving everything before it's a real plan, but we have to think about the timing of those detailed actions and where they take place. And I'll just tell you that many of my governing boards that I work with, they don't want the chief executive officer, the executive director planning a whole lot of detailed activity until they formally approved the strategic plan structure with mission, vision, values, major goals, key objectives, and say, okay, now we've approved this structure. You go away and come up with an action plan and bring it back to us and show it to us. We don't want to be involved in that level of operational detail, but we do want the final say on it. But it's not what we think we want to spend our time hashing out. We want you to see what you think's reasonable with your bureau chiefs, your division heads, and then come back to us and show us your proposal. And I'm wondering how you as commissioners see that, and what you're thinking, because we do have to think about the timing of that and how to ultimately get a complete plan, which would include what's going to happen in the first year, who's going to do it, what quarter is it going to be done in. All those kinds of details are critical.
I kind of think I'm here just to provide executive leadership, and not day-to-day management. So, and this is just my opinion, that I think where this is really valuable for what do I do next is helping me think through and get a feedback concept on what are the most important things. And then I think about, well, what can I do to help make those most important things happen? And so in the near term, most important thing seems to be getting a budget that matches our mission. So having those two, the action plan match the mission is important and part of budget review and approval process, which is something we as commissioners actually do. But then in terms of just daily, what should people be focusing on, how to do their next work, how to prioritize things. To me, that the rubber meets the road on that at folks like Miranda and Ed's level. So I personally would like to see, Choya, Scott, Ed, Miranda. Too bad Anthony couldn't be here. Those folks working together on this more detailed level stuff. And then I don't even expect to approve it. Just I'll look at it and say, yep, this makes sense, that it aligns with everything we did. And if it doesn't, I'll ask questions. But I want the folks who have the tools to do the day-to-day management to have the ownership and authority to do their job. So me sitting there saying that's not your job, I'm undermining their authority. So that's why I don't want to do that.
Commissioner Ellison Aguilera, do you have a take on it? I don't need a final decision right now, but I just wanted to think through the flow of this ahead of me, since that's part of my contract to help manage, and for you to give some thought at least to it, because we will have our last meeting on the major framework. And then the question is, where does that detailed planning fall underneath this framework that you would have the authority to approve?
Commissioner Ellison, do you want to go?
Not really.
Okay.
But I can. So, I guess so. Mark, your question is more how to, once the strategic goals have been decided, how to really operationalize it into, an action plan, and how do we see that sort of
Yes.
playing
sir.
out?
That's right.
And, it makes sense to me as well to have a little more high level for the strategic goals. And, I just wonder, some of them seem to be getting a little more in the weeds than others. So we would have to kind of, look at the strategic goals with an eye to, really be focusing on the broad topics and, letting there be a plan to operationalize them. And, I agree that it makes sense for Choya and staff leadership to really work on coming up with that plan. So if that's what you're asking me, I think that proposal makes sense.
That's what I was asking. So thank you.
And it makes sense to me as well. And, I hadn't thought about whether we'd be approving it or not. I don't know that it matters to me. I guess what matters is, this has been a collaborative and open process. I think I would appreciate a, presentation of the final product during an open meeting, just, so others can see the efforts that we're undertaking to improve.
Well, that's very helpful feedback, and that will also help Choya and help me as the consultant to work with her and her senior leadership to plan out how that action planning will take place and how it will complete all the good work that you've done. So we can move forward with that read from you at least, and then continue to have an active conversation. So that's what we have time for today. And I know you folks have had a long day, so I imagine that you would be happy for this meeting to be over, as much enjoyment as you get out of it. And we have a path forward. We have our next meeting, and you're going to be getting some documents to review. And my commitment to you is that you'll get them enough before the meeting that I think you can come in really ready to dig into the final work that we'll do in our last scheduled meeting. So Choya, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Just thank you. Just to share that I'm really excited about this process. It's been really invigorating and telling me that we're making progress already, even though we're not complete. So thank you to everyone who's participating. Thank you to the review group and everyone who's given feedback. It's a really exciting thing to see coalesce.
Mr. Chair, you want to send us away with some wisdom or a joke?
Yeah, no, I agree with what Choya just said. Feels like confirmation that a lot of things we have been doing is of value, because just when you look at the overlap of what we're doing versus what we think we need to do next, and then also can see the bigger things we want to do next, what we're doing now is building towards that. So that's why I feel the same as the sentiment she expressed. And again, just it's great that this has been collaborative and we've gotten input from so many people beyond who's on this screen right now. So all those things are great. And always thank you, Mark, for your organization. You're pretty mild mannered and soft spoken. And then when I look back, it's like, oh, we really did a lot without feeling like we were getting yelled at by the trainer or something. So thank you very much. I appreciate your style, and it produces results. So
30 years as a professional mediator shapes the way one operates. So
yeah,
glad to be with you all. Okay, well, we're past our time by a couple of minutes. Thank you. And you want to formally recess the meeting, Mr. Chair?
Yes, we're adjourned until the 27th.